If they running their mouth, then they looking for trouble. Ran right up in the knowledge, now they back in the huddle. See, they know we can fight. New content every week. Me and Dr. Clyde keep on bringing the heat. Now they know that we driven, and they know we quitting. Yoshi and Dr. Winner keep on bringing the energy. Unity. See, they know we ain't stopping, and they know they got problems, and they ran out of options. If they know we got a problem, can't let it go unsolved. Bring back learning, Afrocentric history, we see tomorrow. Karma's karma, I say what I say, I hear underwater. Till I see I fall off, then I bring y'all up on note. I'm back up on my Clyde winners, 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 divine winters, Clyde winters, mind bender, Clyde winters, I'm Richard, ride with ya, master teacher, create masters, Clyde winters, give respect to the elder, Clyde winters, I know somebody out there living for me. I told you somebody out there looking for me. I think there's somebody out there looking for me. I think there's somebody out there looking for me.
We have to live by God. We have to live by God. I have not done wrong. I have not robbed. I have not stolen. I have not drank. I have not told lies. I have not stolen food. I was not stolen. I have not fornicated with the fornicator. I have not caused anyone to weep. I have not dissembled. I have not transgressed. I have not discussed secrets. I have brought no lawsuits. I am not wronged. I am not struck kill. I am not transgressed the law. I have not been hunted. Except when I'm talking about on the tongue. I have not made extolling. I have not bragged. I have not cursed. I have not been violent. I have not confounded truth. I have not been impatient. I have not cursed
Dr. Winter's legacy is a testament to the power of knowledge and the unyielding spirit of exploration. His impact is felt worldwide, as he shares and enlightens at conferences, symposiums, and collaborative projects. His voice is a beacon in the academic world, challenging, inspiring, and always educating. His journey reminds us that the quest for knowledge is never-ending, and its impact is timeless. Dr. Winters teaches us to challenge the narratives and to learn with an open mind. As he always says, B1 is not a group, it's a lineage. Let his story inspire everybody to pursue knowledge relentlessly and to always seek the truth. Now let us welcome in the grandfather of research, the Trill OG himself, the Honorable Dr. Clyde Winter.
What up, though? What up, though? How you doing, LaDonna Bell, Anthony LaSalvia? It's exciting. It's another very exciting day. Every day is exciting. When you get my age, it's exciting. Any day that you're not under the green, it's exciting. So I love it. But, you know, family, today is so beautiful. It's sunny out here in Chicagoland. You know, the weather is okay, you know, and it's just apropos, as they say in French. It's an appropriate day. But, you know, I want to thing of five Seems as though we're having some type of difficulty, with the internet out here. You pay all this money for the internet, and then and then it does what it wants to do the way it is. But again, it's exciting. It's a very exciting day. School has started. A lot of kids are going back to school. A lot of parents are trying to teach their kids at home, and that's what I want to talk about today. Is that I want to talk a little bit about, an historical experience, because the parents, you do not have to really depend and wait for the school system, the public school system, to really teach your children. You can teach your children. A good way to teach your children is just when you have them look at positive videos, when you have them look at videos that relate to what's going on. How you doing, Ray Wooder? And Rhonda Lewis, what up, though? The thing is this, is that as parents, you have to remember that you're also responsible for their education, not just the public schools, not just a private school. And the best way for you to be able to do this is for you to make sure that you give your children an opportunity to learn as much as they can about themselves. For example, I think that is very important in a sense that our children look at our videos and look at things. For example, I think that one of the most beautiful videos that we have out there is a video by in this video, Yoshimad really talks about our roots, and that's what when you're talking about history, that's what you're talking about. You're talking about our roots, and you're talking about the roots of a people. So it's very important.
No need to pretend anymore. The truth is in your face. FBA roots, FBA roots, FBA roots. Oh, no need to pretend anymore. The truth is in your face. FBA roots, FBA roots, FBA roots. The Moors once ruled from in Europe's heart. They wanted our land. It reveals the hidden past, where blackness thrived, a vivid past. No need to pretend anymore. The truth is in your face. FBA roots, FBA roots, FBA roots. Oh, no need to pretend anymore. The truth is in your face. FBA roots, FBA roots, FBA roots. From maroons to moors, the truth is told. Stories of strength, being black is bold. Cultures blended, histories merged. A bond of funk, our souls converge. And tales they twisted well to hide the truth, but their plans soon fail. See, Dr. Clyde's light shines beyond bright. We the black aboriginals are righteous in this fight. We the black aboriginals are righteous in this fight. European tales they twisted well. FBA roots, FBA roots, FBA roots. To pretend anymore. The truth is in your face. FBA roots, FBA roots, FBA roots.
That again, as I said, that video is by Yoshimad, the genius. You can get that video and other videos by Yoshimad, the genius, at yoshimad.gumroad.com. But again, as I said, is that FBA roots are important because, see, we are unique people. I know that people, in a sense, sometimes people say, why do FBA have this idea that they're so unique? We have this idea that we're so unique, You saw the video. But we're unique because the entire world culture is based on, in a sense, us. The music, most of the inventions that control modern civilization, such as the electric light bulb, the telephone, the computer. Black guy was the foundation of Black Americans who made these inventions. And because of the fact that they made these inventions, that's why, in a sense, that Black people in America have so much influence in the world. Yeah, yes. Whatever we think about is watching us, But then at the same time, they want to, in a sense, make fun, or they try to throw things into our culture that don't really exist. That's right. A lot of things, in a sense, that they put out there, is to denigrate us, is to knock us down. But they can't knock down FBA, because FBA, we are, in a sense, the culture of the world. We are, in a sense, the industrial basis of the world. We made, in a sense, what we made the automatic oiling machine that makes machines work. We were the earliest inventors of the car and all that type of stuff. Made the telephone work, the electric light bulb work. Everything came from us. So then, therefore, you see, we have a lot, in a sense, that allow us to be proud of our cultures. That's not to show off, because as Nellie Fuller tells us, we don't have to brag. We have to look at history and see what, but at the same time, we're Black. But we're not only Black, we're brilliant. But again, I wanted to talk to you today about, more in terms of how to teach, what to teach, and things like this, like that. One of the reasons that I'm interested in that whole idea is because of the fact that it's school again. And because it's school again, it's time. It's time that I give you guys some ideas on how we can be able to make sure, in a sense, to teach our children. Because, as I said earlier, stop this whole idea of thinking that everything has to come to your children via the public schools. No, you should be ready to play an active role in the teaching of your children. And that's what I make these videos for. I make these videos. I try not to be cussing on the videos. And the reason I try not to cuss on the videos is because of the fact is that I know that some people, they don't like their kids to hear cuss words and things like that. And so I try to respect that. I admit that my kids had to grow up hearing a lot of cuss words, because that's just the way it was. And because I'm that guy, but again, in a sense, it's very important, in a sense, that you understand that so much knowledge out there for you to be able to do this, for you to be able to share this knowledge with your children. And that's what I'm going to do. Today, I'm going to really talk about various aspects of FBA history, but I want to look at a specific time, is that's very important. Okay, Dorvell, he says, the problem is we didn't roll these inventions into foundation and not sell out. This would have funded our educational institutions. In a way, you're absolutely correct, Dorvell. But the point is this, is that that's the way things are set up. We can make the inventions. We can do a lot of things. But often to get those inventions popularized, get those inventions disseminated, you need money. And because of the fact that Europeans have the money, that's one of the reasons why they've been able, in a sense, to get many of our inventions and make money off of it. It's not in the sense that we wouldn't like to make the money ourselves. What it is that we understand that we don't have the money, and they don't really want to give us reparations. No, the Europeans do not want to give us reparations. The reason they don't want to give us reparations is because of the fact that if we had reparations, what would that do? What would that do? I'll tell you what it would do. If we got reparations, we'd be able, in a sense, to start our own businesses. If we have reparations, we'd be able, in a sense, to buy nice homes, cars. We'd be able, in a sense, to establish our children. We'd be able, in a sense, to be able to help our children to really become full citizens in this country and have justice. But let's look at this picture. This picture, I think, is very, very beautiful. But this picture is also very informative. As you can see, we see a ship. We see people moving down various streets. We see, in a sense, we see a steam engine powering a car. We see a plow. We see fields, in a sense, where people working, and we see a chain. Yes, we see a chain. And the reason you see that chain, and the reason you see that boat is that our history. Sure, granted, never believe that all black people came to this country as slaves. You don't get it twisted. We didn't all come here as slaves, but the point is this: many people did come here as prisoners of war, and they came here as prisoners of war on various boats, and that's why the boat is significant in terms of our history. The chain represents how we've been chained, in a sense, and mistreated in this country. So again, let's get started. FBA history, prehistory to 1865. In this picture, we have several. You can see several things in this slide. You can see, the emblem of America, which was a black woman, and you can see her beautiful headdress. You see this brother wearing the American flag. Yes, yes, yes. I have a problem sometimes with the American flag because the fact, in a sense, is that I feel often, in a sense, that I'm not really represented by the American flag. I'm not really, in a sense, sometimes really given the benefit of being recognized as a true American. But we are true Americans. We are foundational Black Americans. And the reason that we're foundational Black Americans is because we built this country. Then in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see some of the Black Irish. And the Black Irish are very important in our history because this is how many of us got our surnames. Yes, yes, yes. Many of us got our surnames from the 300,000 to 400,000 Black Irish who was sent into chattel slavery. I'm not talking about the white Irish. I'm not talking about the people living in Ireland today. Most of the people living in Ireland today, they're interlopers. They're people, in a sense, that just occupied lands that were owned originally by Black people, your ancestors, many of our ancestors, you see. But they were able, in a sense, to take those places because during the 30-Year War, the 30-Year War was basically a war between Black Catholics and Black Protestants. And during the 30-Year War, these Black Catholics and Black Protestants, they just about almost wiped each other out. And that allowed Caucasians to step in and to be dominant in Europe today. Yes, yes, yes. Because of the fact we fought each other, because of the fact we refused to have unity, this is what allowed Caucasians to replace us. Please join my Patreon. It's my Patreon members that allow me to do this research. The people in my Patreon, they provide me with funds that I can use to get the latest articles, the latest books, so I can talk about a lot of subjects. Just like the other day, I had to buy a book on the people, the Garama, and it was almost $200 and stuff. But I was able to get this book because I want to do a presentation on the Garama. But I was able to get that because it's the book was supported through the funds that I get through my my Patreon. At the end of this lecture, I'm going to take my slides and the slides of all of my presentations that deal with Black History Gems, which is my Thursday program, and sometimes I even do my other programs. Just about all of my presentations, all of the slides, you're going to find them in my Patreon. Join my Patreon, and so you can get authentic copies of the slides. Right now, you're on my Afrocentric History site on YouTube. Here I have over 400 videos, 400 videos that deal with various aspects of Black history. I have videos on June 10th, Juneteenth. I have videos on the sense blacks, and the delineation. I have books on how to study Black history. Why Euronets hate themselves. And Egyptian spirituality. Let the researcher do the researcher. Yes, yes, yes. There's more on my sites. Many of you guys just come here to look at my lives, but don't just come here to look at my lives. I have over 400 videos here that deal with every aspect of Black history. If you want to know Black history, this is a place. For those of you who are trying to teach your kids about history, and you're trying to make sure that they get additional work, or additional information about our history, culture, civilization, then therefore, in a sense, you should be on this site. Yes, Clyde Winter's Afrocentric History site. Here you're going to find the videos that can help you to be able to establish your own program for your kids to learn. Kids pick up stuff very easily when it's visuals. And I've made videos on every aspect just about of Black history right now. You can order my books on Amazon.com. And I have various books at Amazon.com on various aspects of Black history. Go to Amazon.com, order some of these books so you can have them in your library. And by having these books in your library, you can have easy access. You can have resources that can help you to know our history. I'm on Twitter at Dr. Clyde Winters 8. I usually send out a Twitter every now and then, a tweet to kind of, on X to kind of let people know what's going on. B1 is acknowledging your Black African ancestry and mod, not heritage. We must be race men and women proud of our culture and African Black ancestry. B1, that means to be Black first, but B1 also means to be brilliant first. Yes, Black and brilliant. We're Black and brilliant. B1, baby, B1. The only thing that can save you is B1, B1, B1. To fight Cage, you must stay Black first. B-Bo, B1, yes, you had to be B1. What is FBA? FBA is not a group. FBA is not an organization. FBA is a lineage. Yes, a lineage. A lineage is lineal descent from an ancestor, ancestry or pedigree. As a result, we are descendants of the Black Europeans, Sub-Saharan Africans, and Aboriginal Blacks who built the United States. Yes. We went through an ethnogenesis in this country. This ethnogenesis made us into a new population, a new, in a sense, species, I guess you could say. And that species was FBA, Foundational Black American, the descendants of Black Europeans, Sub-Saharan Africans, and the Aboriginal Blacks. We are the foundation of the United States. You can find out more information about our history. Get my books, Black History Gym Essays. This goes over my podcast between 2021 and 22. And get both volumes, Volume 1 of Black History Gym Essays and Volume 2 of Black History Essays. Get these books because these books, in a sense, can help you to be able to understand our history. And this is very important because, see, we sometimes lose sight of the reality of our great history. But by, in a sense, buying these books and other books I've written, you will be able, in a sense, to know our history. You'll be able, in a sense, to be able to judge our history. You'll be able, in a sense, to have the facts. You'll have the receipts. So that when people try to argue, and when people try to say that we don't have any history, you'll know the truth.
Black History Gems Essays. Black History Gems Essays. Black History Gems Essays. Black History Gems Essays. Let's time travel in a book, go far in a book. When is the last time you read a real book? Knowledge given in a book. Benefit from a book, create a movie from a book. Just don't forget to give thanks to the author who put time into the book. Thanks. Black History Gems Essays. Black History Gems Essays. Black History Gems Essays. Black History Gems Essays.
Again, get those volumes of Black History Gem essays. They, in a sense, are volumes that can help you to understand more and more about our Black history. Also, when you want to really learn about our Black history, get my books, History of Blacks in America from Free History to 1877. In this book, I have outlines, I have courses of studies, I have pictures, I have illustrations. You can use this book to have a home teaching course that will teach yourselves and teach your children, family members, our history as Black people in America. Although it says History of Blacks in America from Free History to 1877, it really goes up to the Black Power movement. You'll find materials in there that can help you. My book, The Phylogeography of Afro-Americans and Africans. In this book, I deal with the genetic history, yes, the DNA history of Black people, foundational Black Americans, and Africans. So get my book, The Phylogeography of Afro-Americans and Africans. And of course, my book, We Are Not Just Africans. In this book, I talk about the relationship between the Black Native Americans and Sub-Saharan Africans. It shows that we are not just Africans, but we are also, in a sense, of African background, but also, in a sense, get my book, History and Culture of the Black Aboriginals. History and Culture of the Black Aboriginals is the only book. It is the only book that exists today. Yes. It's the only book that exists today that provides a history of the Black Aboriginals in this country. It talks about the history of Black Aboriginal people, their relationships with the Caucasian race, how they evolved, in a sense, from being Black Native Americans to colored people, now back to, in a sense, Black foundational Black Americans and Aboriginals. You'll get all this information in my book, History and Culture of the Black Aboriginals. Get this book. You need this book. Also, in a sense, if you want to learn more about our history, get my book, Common Core, State Standards, and Social Science. This book is very important. In this, I teach you various aspects of constructivism. Constructivism is when you teach people and children, when you teach them how to construct their own knowledge. See, knowledge is fine, but see, knowledge is best when people construct the knowledge themselves. And in my book, Common Core, State Standards, and Social Science, in this book, I give you a lot of strategies on how you can teach your kids and how your kids and you can learn. So get these books, History and Culture, The Black Aboriginals, and Common Core, State Standards, and Social Science. These books can be very effective if you're trying to develop a homeschooling program. Also, I have other teaching strategies in my book, Brain-Based Learning and Special Education. Although, in a sense, this book is about brain-based learning and special education, what it does is that I have a lot of strategies. I have a lot of constructivist strategies. I have a lot of strategies in which you can use to learn and to teach more effectively. And that's what this is about. This is about, in a sense, this particular presentation is about how you can teach in a homeschool, how you can develop a program even to use this material in your own school. Because see, much of this material, yes, you would want to check with your principal, and but these are not materials. These are not materials that in a sense can be considered racist or have any type of pornography. These teaching strategies are proven teaching strategies that allow children to learn more effectively and efficiently. And see, that's what you want to be able to do as a teacher or an instructor or even a parent. You want to teach effectively and efficiently. You want to make sure that the students are learning, you see. Also, if you go to this website, historyccs.blogspot.com. This is my Common Core State Standards and Social Studies website. On this website, I provide other information, videos, and other things that can help you to be able to teach our history, our Black history, foundational Black American history, to yourselves or to your children. Teachers, if you really want to get more, in a sense, ideas, more strategies to make your classroom an effective classroom where your students are learning their history, go to my website, historyccs.blogspot.com. And here you'll find many common core state standards and social studies ideas. A lot of people, they didn't like Common Core, but I like Common Core state standards, and I used Common Core state standards when I was teaching because the fact, in a sense, these standards, they're meant to allow you to be able to have the kids produce their own knowledge. And no matter what people may tell you, when you're producing your own knowledge, you remember it and you're able to be more effective in learning. Today, some black people, due to self-hate and ignorance, hate being black and an African. As a result, they claim to be anything else but African. They call themselves Native American and Asian. These dumb Negroes are trying to make a revision of Black American history. Yes, yes, yes. We do have an African background, even though we're aboriginals to this country. The original Aboriginal people came from Africa. They had to come from Africa because we know during the Ice Age, many other people in North America died off. But we do know that there's archaeological evidence that shows, in a sense, the migration of Black people from the African continent to the Americas. Let's not forget that Brazil, yes, Brazil is only 1,000 miles. There's only 1,000 miles that separate Brazil from West Africa. Yes, that's less miles from driving up from Chicago, Illinois to Orlando, Florida. So don't get it twisted. Africa was not that far away from the American continent. You are prisoners of war. Yes, you are prisoners of war. What did Nellie Fuller teach us? He taught us, if you do not understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Yes. That's what Brother Nellie Fuller taught us. He also said that the purpose for studying Black history is not to find out how great you were. It is to find out what mistakes were made that got us in our current situation. Yes. You had to remember we're prisoners of war. You had to remember, in a sense, that we have a grand history. But this grand history is not just to pump us up, not just to make us feel proud, but to also, in a sense, allow us to understand that there's more that we must do. See? We have to look at the mistakes we made and move forward. The 1619 Project makes it appear that foundational Black Americans first arrived in the Americas as slaves. And after a short period of time, they were mistreated by whites for the last 500 years. The question that must be asked is this an accurate history of FBA? Sorry to tell you this, but the answer is no. The answer is no, because North America was a Black continent before Caucasians came to America. In fact, the first African settlement began in 1526 in North America, not 1619. Historically, Black Indians were the symbol of America, just as you can see in this emblem over here on the right-hand side. The 1619 Project was produced by Nicole Hannah Jones. She grew up in Waterloo, Iowa. She is married to Faraji Hannah Jones. I believe they have one child. The 1619 Project was a series of 8 essays that are supposed. The project also includes a curriculum teachers can use to teach the essays. In January 2023, the Hulu streaming service presented a documentary of the 1619 Project made by Harpo Studios. It's a very good program. You should check it out. Episode 1 is titled Democracy. It's supposed to be about democracy seen through the life of Nicole Hannah Jones and historical events beginning from 1619 up to the modern fights for voting rights. Yeah, here you can see a picture of Nicole Hannah Jones. But see, the whole point is this is our history does not begin in America in 1619. No. Our history begins in America 10,000 years ago. Yes, 10,000 years ago. This is when we find the first evidence of the Black Aboriginals. This is when we find, in a sense, the first evidence of the original people who lived in the Americas, and the original people, you Black people like me. What did we learn from episode 1? We learned that 1, FBA came to America as slaves. 2, voting is the solution to all the problems experienced by FBA, according to this documentary. FBA lacked freedom only in the South. Civil rights movement brought FBA freedom. The right to vote demonstrates FBA participation in democracy. FBA suffering is the price to pay to bring true democracy to America. Number 7, FBA obtained freedom by acting nonviolent while being abused by white terrorists. This is what they teach you. This is what they teach you. They don't teach you in a sense about real freedom. They teach you in a sense that black people made it because black people went along to get along. Some of that is true, but it's much more to our history than just what you would find in the 1619 Project. In summary, the first episode makes it clear that it was through the actions of the civil rights generation that all Americans were extended the right to vote and obtain a true democracy. But this is true, see? You know, people are always talking about black and brown, see? Because there is no black and brown coalition. Whenever people talk about black and brown or minorities, somehow black people, foundational black Americans, are left out of the mix. Somehow, in a sense, you know, when they try to go through this whole idea of black and brown or minorities, you know, they forget that we're here, and they give the money to immigrants, or they give the money to Arabs, anybody but black foundational Americans, and this is wrong. The answer must be no. Granted, FBA through the Voting Rights Act of 1965, we're given the right to vote. But this act was not an amendment and has to be renewed on a basis after numbers. Plus, by 2022, the right to vote pursuant to the act had been so weakened by the Supreme Court that it lacks any power to really protect the right to vote for FBA. And during the 2022 midterm elections, many FBA were still being denied the right to vote. Same thing in 2023 and that's the same thing that's going to happen in 2024. Clearly, the 1619 Project is in reality propaganda by the Democratic Party, that as long as black people vote, they will have freedom, and that all we should want from giving the Democrats our vote is token symbolism, like a national holiday, like Juneteenth, or maybe give somebody a federal job in the government or a judgeship. But this is lacking justice in a job for the rest of us, you see? They give us these symbols. They give us this symbolism, you know, and often they try to be very funny about it. For example, when they gave that Supreme Court justice, made that one a Supreme Court justice, she was an FBA, a foundational black American. She was a anchor baby from some Caribbean people who settled here. You know, and you look at the black people in the Biden administration, mostly all of them were either South Indians, people from India, or black people who are African or Caribbean. They didn't really have any foundational black Americans in the Biden administration. You see, some of the judges that they made, they were Caribbeans. And I'm not speaking ill of the Caribbeans. What I'm just saying is that the white people always try to play a joke with FBA. They always, in a sense, try to act like they're giving us our rights and they're giving us things, when really, in a sense, it's just tokenism. And it's a way, in a sense, for them to have a big laugh. Because, see, it's funny to them that we're the majority in this people. We fought, yes, foundational black Americans, we fought for these rights. We fought for these liberties. And yet, instead of giving foundational black Americans these jobs in the administration, they get a job to some black people from the Caribbean, some black people from Africa. This is not done, in a sense, as a mistake. They do this to keep FBA down. FBA have never been given any justice or rights unless they fought for those rights. It was 200,000 blacks fighting in a civil war that saved the Union and won us the 13th and 14th Amendment, which gave us the right to vote and citizenship. Amendments that white supremacists have ignored. Yes. They took the 14th Amendment and they used that to make corporations into people. But it's the 14th Amendment that allow people to be born in these United States and then to become automatic citizen. But again, these were amendments made for us. But although we fought for these amendments, and thousands of us died on the battlefield. Yes, the Union was about to lose the Civil War until they brought in those 200,000 Africans, those 200,000, in a sense, foundational black Americans, those 200,000 black Aborigines. Yes, because if you're FBA, You're African, you're Black Aboriginal, but you're FBA all the way. And we fought. See, they haven't never given us anything. Nobody's given us anything as FBA. We've had to fight. We've had to fight for everything. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people who come from foreign countries, they say, why are you Black people always fighting? We're always fighting because that's the only way that we can survive. That's the only way that we can really get the justice and rights that we deserve. It was the riots that led to the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and affirmative action, which sent many FBA to colleges and universities and led to us not being totally confined to living in tenements and the FBA ghettos. And some of us got a few government jobs. In fact, I know damn well that my parents and cousins and uncles, they weren't in a sense preachers or had money. My father did construction work. My mom was a housewife. So I know damn well that the only way I was able to go to college was because of the fact, in the sense that they tried to burn down the west side of Chicago. And they said, hell, we gotta develop, in a sense, a middle class. Some people who may have a stake in the government, a stake in cities, a stake with their communities. Because see, back in the day when I was a teenager, I didn't think nothing about a community. What the hell did I think about a community? You're living in a tenement, a raggedy ass apartment. You go into these apartments and you can smell piss and shit all in the damn apartments. I didn't give a damn about them. I could say, damn, we can burn them all down. Burn them down. See? But it was because of the fact that we fought. Yes. Just like World War II, World War I, and especially the Civil War. Black people only get rights. They only get justice. They only find success when they fight. We get nothing for kissing ass. We get nothing for going along. The evidence is clear. The 1619 Project is Black history in white face, meant to put FBA asleep as we continue to suffer injustice. Yes. This history project, what I'm teaching you now, learn these facts, and this will help you to gain freedom. This will help you to know our true history. It's time we learn our true history. FBA have been in the United States since before European exploration of North America. The first Africans came to the United States came with the Spanish explorers. In 1526, Lucas Vasquez de Alon founded a colony at Jamestown, Virginia. The 100 slaves in the colony revolted against their Spanish overlords and established their own settlements, you see. Later, they founded St. Augustine in Florida in 1565 with the Spanish. Yes. We've always been here. Stop this whole idea of thinking we only got here in 1619. The first English colony was established near the former Spanish colony of Jamestown, Virginia. In the original English colony of Jamestown, the African settlers were indentured servants. Yes. Indentured servants. You got to remember, slavery did not begin in 1619. So that's the first lie they teach you. In 1619, a Dutch man of war docked at Jamestown and sold English colonists 20 who were really indentured servants. The Jamestown of census 1523 to 1524 lists Africans in the town as servants because the first Americans in the English colony of Jamestown served as indentured servants for a stipulated term. Other Africans lived in the Dutch colony of New Amsterdam. By the early 1700s, most African Americans in North America were slaves. But you've got to remember, in a sense, the first chattel slaves were not Africans. No. The first chattel slaves were Black Aboriginal people who had engaged in battles with the Caucasians. And once they lost the battles, they were forced to be chattel slaves on tobacco, sugar, and rice plantations, you know. See? The original slaves were not Africans. So that's one thing they try to get twisted. That's why when they try to make foundational Black Americans always look to Africa as their home, Africa. But the vast majority of us have a Black Aboriginal background and some African admixture. FBA do not represent a single population from Africa that arrived here in 1619. FBA have a tripartite origin from Black Indians, Black Europeans, and finally, Sub-Saharan Africans. African slaves were not the first slaves in the British Caribbean and North America. The first slaves were Aboriginal Black Native Americans and Black Irish. The Black Irish slaves were usually had to sail to America over a 9 to 12 week period to reach the Caribbean. The trip across the Atlantic was harsh, and many Black Irishmen died of scurvy, dysentery, and dehydration. To save money, the Black Irish were just tossed into the sea. Yes, yes, yes. The first triangular trade did not go to Africa. It went, in a sense, to Ireland. Many Black Native Americans when Europeans came to the United States. These Black people came to America from Africa. Up until 1,200 years ago, the Ice Age prevented Blacks from crossing the Bering Straits into the Americas. And once the ice melted, Black pygmies entered America across the Straits, but there were other Blacks who came directly from Africa to North America. Black anatomically modern humans have been found in the Americas for over 100,000 years. Evidence of these Paleo-Americans have been found in Brazil and California. Get my book, History and Culture of the Black Aboriginals, where I discuss in detail, detail the various Paleo-Americans. And the Paleo-Americans is the names given to the first people who lived in the Americas, and these were basically Black people. The Paleo-Americans were phenotypically African, Melanesian, or Australians. That's how they describe them in the anthropological work. Dr. Nita Guedan says man was in Brazil, yes, 100,000 years ago, and that these humans came from Africa. Here's some of the reconstructed early or Paleo-Americans. We have Naia, we have Apuna, and we have Luzia. It's a shame that Luzia, which was a Black inhabitant in Brazil, the museum where her original skull was, they burnt that down. And since they burnt down the museum where the original skull of Luzia is, they're trying to reconstruct and make Luzia look as though she was white. So this can kind of make it look as though Brazil has always had a white population. But people love to lie. But this is Luzia. This is the first representation of a Brazilian. And Apuina is another one. And then Naia, that was an artifact found in ancient Mexico. First modern Americans sailed from Africa, not Asia, to the Americas. Yes, yes, yes. You have to remember the Ice Age. Look, here you can see some pictures of the Ice Age. As you can see from these pictures, there was no way that people could walk Americas from Asia. No. There was no way they could walk. And you can see even when you look at the map on the right-hand side, you can see how they couldn't have really sailed from Europe, much of Europe, to the Americas because it was under ice too. See? So what we find is the first people who settled the Americas came from Africa. And Africa is only a little over 1,200 miles. Yes, 1,200 miles away, not 10,000 or 20,000. Craniometrics and Paleo-Americans. Craniometrics is a study of cranials or skulls that have been found in various archaeological excavations. Craniometric qualitative analysis and multivariate methods have determined the Native American population. Yes, the population in the Americas, who are called the Paleo-Americans, who lived here between 10,000 and 5,000 years ago. This research indicated that the ancient Americans represented two populations who were phenotypically African, Australian, or Melanesian, and a Mongoloid population that does not appear, I repeat, that does not appear into America until after 6,000 BC. That means for over 100,000 years, the only Black people, the only people in the Americas, North and South, were Black people. Mongoloid people are very recent to the Americas. Anzac boy carried the same Y DNA as ancient Europeans. Anzac boy, the Anzac boy skeleton was found in Montana. The Paleo-American belonged to the Clovis culture, the same as Kennewick man. The interesting thing is that they carry the mtDNA M or D1 and the Y chromosome R1. This is very interesting because the R1 is still carried today by 22%. Yes, 22% of FBA carry the YR chromosome. This shows that that many of these people who are carrying the Y are chromosome, that some of them ancestors have been here for over 10,000 years. Think about that. 10,000 years. See? But this is what you learn when you study archaeology. We know that among Native Americans and Afro Americans, we find in a sense that among Native Americans, we find QP36, 2% are found in Native Americans, whereas 31% found in Afro Americans. PM27, 2%, 3%. But when we come down to RP25, we find 2% in Native Americans, 0.3%, and then for YRM 265, we find 21% in Native Americans, 70% Afro Americans, and then for the R1Y chromosome, we find 22%. So you can see that this is one of the things, is that's why it's very difficult to tell the difference between many Black Aboriginal people and Afro Americans and Africans, because they carry the same genes. The genes don't disassociate them from other Black people, The foundation of Black Americans, when we look at it, look at this chart on the left-hand side. This shows the Y-SNP haplogroups for 115 African Americans. As you can see, R1, 23%. Then we see other R, E3B. We see a percentage. Then we see that around 58% is E3A. So as you can see, many Afro Americans carry this R1b haplogroup. This R1b haplogroup, it was found among the earliest Americans. Anzac boy, who is dated to 10,000 years ago. This can kind of show the continuity, the continuity of the foundational Black American population in the United States. And it also in a sense, is further Kennewick DNA. Kennewick man, his DNA makes it clear in the sense that he belonged to haplogroup X. And haplogroup X is also an African haplogroup. Yes. Haplogroup X is also, in a sense, an haplogroup that originated in Africa. Columbus called the people in the Americans Indians because they were Black, like the people in India. So when Columbus first came, he came and he saw these Black people on the Caribbean islands, and then they later saw these Black people on the mainland land. They called them Indians, and they called them Indians because they were Black. And they felt they were in India because if you go to India, and they were trading with South India, at that time they found that the South Indians were Black, so they said, hey, we found these Black people in the Caribbean, so we must be in India. But that's why they thought they were in India, because they found the same phenotypically Black populations in India in the Caribbean. Again, I love this picture. In this picture, we see, in a sense, the boats, which represent the voyages, not just in a sense, the voyages of Black people to the Americas as slaves, but also the fact that Black people had been coming over here for 10, 20, 30, 50,000 years before, in a sense, we really find the American population today. You see, in a sense, that it's the technology that we've introduced, and yet we're always going towards that road to a higher level. We're going down a road, in a sense, to sunshine, because see, over here in the Americas, we're always fighting for our justice. Yes. FBA, Foundation of Black Americans, are always fighting to obtain their justice and our rights in this country and beyond. The beginning of the war between Blacks and whites was the Pequot War. Black Indians like the Yamasee and Pequot became slaves after losing wars. During the colonial days, the Europeans would go to war against the Black Native Americans to get slaves. As a result, entire Black tribes were murdered, and the captured Black Native Americans were made slaves on American plantations. Yes. Did you know that those earliest wars between the white man and the Black Indians, they were basically, in a sense, so that white people could get slaves, get people to work on their plantations? The English and French and Dutch provided Native Americans with guns, rum, and cheap goods to purchase Native American Indian slaves. Between 1670 and 1720, many black Native Americans were enslaved. Yes, yes, yes. The majority of the black Native Americans sold in slavery, were the Choctaw, the Yamasee, and the Pequot, and other other Aboriginal black populations. The first British contact with black Indians was slave trading. Yes, yes, yes. Even before the British settled in 1619, even before they settled or made settlements, they would still come to the Americas. Yes, they would come to the Americas and kidnap original blacks and sell them as slaves in Europe. In fact, in a sense, many of the brothels in Europe before, in the early 1600s, were composed of black women who were Aboriginal people who had been kidnapped and sold into slavery. Another way that the Europeans were able, in a sense, to obtain supremacy was they went through this gift giving, and this whole idea of gift giving is that they would give black Indians these blankets, and the black Indians would say, "Hey, thank you, we're so happy." But sadly, these blankets often carried smallpox, and when the people, in a sense, would get the blankets, when they would use the blankets, what would happen? They would sooner or later die of smallpox. This caused many pandemics. Then also, in a sense, they used rum, and they would get rum, and they would get guns, and they would tell the Indians that, hey, if you go capture these other people and sell them to us, we'll give you some guns or we'll give you some rum. See, you have to remember, in a sense, is that black people, they are black Aboriginals. They didn't see themselves as one group. They saw themselves as different nations, Choctaw, Yamasee, all that. And I mean, it used to be hundreds of tribes. So that just shows, just like if you go into the regular black neighborhood today, you might see about 3 or 4 different churches, some of them on the same block. And that's the way it was with the black Aboriginals. You had so many of these black tribes, these independent nations that, trying to compete with one another. That this is why it was easy for the white man to take over the Americas, because while black people were fighting each other, the Caucasians would just step in and then, take the land. Britain began the black Indian slavery and the American Caribbean slave trade. They've given you these ideas about how the slave boats look, but this is how the American slave boats usually looked. It was just, you had a boat, you put on there some African slaves, then you maybe put some rum down in the bottom, and this is how, in a sense, they made their money. Every slave ship was not like those slave ships that they popularized. The average slave ship was just a boat. And sadly, many black people who lived in the Americas, they would often get a boat, rent a boat, or get a captain, go to Africa, or and kidnap some slaves. Sometimes, in a sense, to be real slick, they would get together with some other people, go and attack a black Indian tribe, take the black Indian tribe, put them on some boats, and then sell to the Caribbean. Then once they go to the Caribbean, they come back and say, "Oh, we got these slaves from the Caribbean." No, they didn't get them. Those were really black Native Americans, and they just said they had come from there. So again, in a sense, is that many Aboriginal blacks sold each other into slavery, and that helped Europeans to take over America. That was just the way it is. They wanted these African slaves and these Indian slaves. They wanted them, in a sense, put them in the slave markets, and they would use these people, in a sense, to grow cotton and corn. They felt, in a sense, that they wanted to have an opportunity to grow the 3 sisters. The 3 sisters were beans, corn, and squash, and this is what black Native Americans grew. Some of the black Native American tribes, like the Blackfeet, the Cree, the Choctaw, the Costanoans, the Cachitas, the Lenape, the Menokin, the Mendika, the Nanacoke, the Narragansett, the Nawatsis, they cultivated 3 sisters, maize, beans, and squash. Or we call maize corn, And so this is a way, in a sense, that they were able to feed themselves and make sure that and these crops later became popular. But see, the European, in a sense, he tried in a sense to use genocide to get rid of black people in the Americas, and he did that by giving them smallpox blankets. And these blankets, in a sense, would spread smallpox, but it wasn't so easy in North America because there was so many. Yes, so because there was so many black Indians, they couldn't kill them all off. You see, that's one of the reasons why black people are the majority in this country today. I know you're saying yourself, Dr. Winters, stop this bullshit. They say that 20% of the people in America, 47 million people in America, foundational black Americans. I want to tell you that's a lie. We've always been the majority in this country, but again, black people, so that they could, in a sense, make it, they say we'll get along to go along. And so they would go along just so, in a sense, they could have some sort of ways to make it and survive and prosper. Because you have to admit that we're the only people on the planet Earth that were at one time slaves, and yet now we live in very prosperous communities, nice homes and things like that. The Black Indian slave trade decimated the Black Indian community. Between 1670 and 1750, an estimated 60 to 100,000 people were sold into slavery. There were Black Indians all over the place. There were Indians in Florida, Indians in Mississippi. Here we can see some Indians, and this picture is some of the Indians that lived in California. Look at the diverse hairstyles, look at the diverse outfits, look at the feathers. I mean, it was just so many black people, black Indians, that there was no way to kill them all off. Mongoloid Indians migrated to the southeast region of America from Mexico. The Black Native Americans felt sorry for the Mongoloid or the Red Indians, who were nomadic hunter-gatherers, and they often, in a sense, they were adopted by the 5 civilized tribes. Yes, we adopted the Red Indians, but the Red Indians, in a sense, they in a sense turned on us, because see, the white man early recognized that Mongoloid Indians could serve as a good buffer group between Black Indians and whites, since they were lighter skinned than the Black Indians, who were identical to Africans and other Negroes. You have to understand, in the sense, is that what the European did is that Benjamin Franklin, I think it was, he early recognized that if the European wanted to really rule America, he should try to work with the Indians. And he felt that since the Indians were already just a little lighter than the black people, that those Red Indians, he could mate with them, and by mating with them, he could, in a sense, get them to be mestizos or what we call mulattoes, and then he could use his mulatto children to be a buffer between the black people, and that's what Europeans did. You see, Benjamin Franklin made it clear Mongoloid Indians were qualified to live with and interbreed with European whites. Yes, Ben Franklin. Whites used Mongoloid Indians as the first population to wedge between whites and blacks. Benjamin Franklin saw Mongoloid Indians as the perfect population to keep Indians enslaved. The poverty of the Mongoloid Indians made them willing allies to help whites discriminate against Black Indians and later slaves. Over time, many Mongoloid Indians adopted white attitudes towards blacks, and eventually some owned slaves. By 1824, the Choctaw and Chickasaw held 1,277 slaves. By 1868, these tribes owned 10,000 slaves in Oklahoma. Yes. Black Indians became colored people through bureaucratic erasure in public records. Due to Indian slavery in North America, the Black Native American population was absorbed by the larger sub-Saharan African slave population. Over time, people forgot there had been Black Native Americans and Mongoloid Native American slaves. In fact, the Black Native American heritage and land rights were stolen by the government. As all Blacks in America, no matter their ancestry, were assigned the status of former African slave. Galileo Whitaker in 2015 wrote that, and I quote, "As the Indian slave trade gave way to the African slave trade by the late 1700s, by then over 300 years old, Native American women began to intermarry with imported Africans, producing mixed-race offspring, whose native identities became obscured through time in the colonial project to eliminate the landscape of Indians." Think about this. See, that by the early 1700s, when Africans were brought over as slaves, they had already been enslaving black Native Americans for 300 years. Yes. They have been enslaving black Native Americans for 300 years. See? You know, and that's why if you want to find more about the chattel slaves who are of black Native American origin, you got to get my book, History and Culture of the Black Aboriginals. In this book, I break it down. Get this book. You know, FBA history from 1619 to 1865 is very important because it shows the roots of our history. The original Europeans were blacks. They had been living in Europe for 44,000 years. In fact, they were in many cases the rurals in most European countries. Yes, yes, yes. It was during the 30-Year War when the black Protestants and the black Catholics fought each other that really, in a sense, Caucasians were able to steal the birthrights of the former black elites and pretend that they were the really rulers. Benjamin Franklin's observation concerning the increase of mankind, people, and countries, written in 1751, he wrote this, which leads me to add one remark, that the number of purely white people in the world is proportionally very small. All Africa is black or tawny, Asia chiefly tawny, America exclusive of the newcomers, wholly so. And in Europe, the Spaniards, Italians, French, Russians, Swedes are generally of what we call a swarthy complexion, as are the Germans. Also, the Saxons only accepted, who with the English make the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. Yes, 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 yes. See? The Spanish, you can see the Italians, here we can see some Germans. All these people, see, as you can see, this is what Benjamin Franklin saw in 1751. In 1751, the mass of Europeans were black. Isn't it interesting today if you go to Europe, they're not black, they're Caucasian, they're white. Why? Because we were fighting among each other. Yes, yes, the blacks were fighting among each other, and then these white interlopers were able, in a sense, to take their lands after they killed each other off. Dumbasses. The black Europeans came to the United States from various European countries. These blacks included many Negroes who had been in Europe since prehistory and other blacks that entered Europe from ancient Egypt. You know, the Roman Empire. And don't forget, in a sense, that the Moors ruled much of Spain and Europe between 711 to 1492. Yes. The year that Columbus made his way to America was the year when they ran many of the blacks out of Spain. See? And so because of the fact that the black Moors that have ruled Europe for over almost 1,000 years, that's one of the reasons that further, in a sense, made many Europeans dark-skinned or black or swarthy. Yes, you see? Understand, in a sense, that there was already many blacks living in Europe during the Renaissance, and that there was so many blacks in Europe that it was a black land. You know, one of the greatest enemies and the greatest enemy to people, and a man who sent a whole lot of, in a sense, people into chattel slavery, black Europeans into chattel slavery, was Oliver Cromwell. Oliver Cromwell was an English general and statesman. He was born in 1599. Cromwell was a Protestant nationalist who hated Catholics. Back in this day, the vast majority of people in Ireland and Scotland were black or Negro Catholics. Look at this man. On the left-hand side, you can see the jazz musician, the FBA jazz musician, Miles Davis. And on the right-hand side, you can see Oliver Cromwell. Yes, yes. What do you notice? If you notice, there's a little difference between Oliver Cromwell and Miles Davis. Because the Oliver Cromwell, even though we see him as a person who hated the Catholics, who sent a lot of black Catholics into chattel slavery, as you can see in this original picture of Oliver Cromwell, that Oliver Cromwell would have been considered a Negro if he lived in America today. But Oliver Cromwell was not considered a Negro. He was considered, a Briton because of, in a sense, his nationality. See, It's only been in the last few hundred years that people have been trying to identify people based upon their ethnic origin. Prior to that, people in a sense, they were recognized by their nationality. As a result, even if they were black, they were still a European, not an African. As a member of Parliament, he became commander-in-chief and led armies of the Parliament of England against King Charles I during the. He also reconquered Scotland and Ireland and subsequently ruled the British Isles as Lord Protector from 1653 until his death in 1658. Oliver Cromwell began to reconquer Ireland in 1649. He hated Catholics. He massacred 3,500 in his first battle, and the rest were sold as slaves. Yes, chattel slaves, not indentured servants, to the 13 colonies and the Caribbean. Yes, yes, he sold them as slaves. African slaves that came, in a sense, from Ireland, often in a sense, if they got sick or scurvy, and they were on a British ship, what they did, they just would throw those black Irish people out, just like this picture. This is a picture showing some of the black Irish as they were being, in a sense, just forced off the ship if they felt they couldn't take them further. Oliver Cromwell, reconquered Ireland, and he, in a sense, he led to sending 300,000 or more people here. 100,000 Irish children were sold as Indian in New England. Here's a picture on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, and in this picture, you can see I didn't color this. I didn't make it up. But as you can see these Britons, taking these Irish children, throwing them with pitchforks into the water. And you can look at the faces of those women; they're black, and you can see the faces of those Britons. Most of them are looking white. But see, this is how the Caucasian did. The Caucasian, he worked alongside these black elites, and these black elites, they thought they were so smart, in trying, in a sense, to fight among themselves, the black Protestants and the black Catholics. And what they did, in a sense, while they were fighting among themselves, these Caucasian Europeans, they were just waiting in the background. And as the black elites killed each other off, they just took their place. Yes. The Jacobites came from all parts of the British Isles and Ireland and were led in exile. The Jacobite in British history was a supporter of the exiled Stuart King James II. In Latin, his name was Jacobus, and his descendants after the Glorious Revolution. The political importance of the Jacobite movement extended from 1688 until at least 1750. Here's a picture of King James, who was a black king. King William III came to power through the support of parliamentary opposition to King James II. William was a prominent soldier that was married to King James' daughter, Mary. In 1688, the Parliament opposition invited William to take over the British crown because he was a Protestant and not a Catholic, and they wanted to get rid of Catholic rule in Britain. William landed in England in November of 1688 with 463 ships and 14,000 troops. The forces of William were not opposed by the British Navy. William marched on London, and King James fled to France. In February 1689, William became King William III and Queen Mary II. This takeover of the crown by King William was called the Glorious Revolution. You see, many of the Jacobites that came to the United States were Baradanacs or blacks. Yes, yes, yes. Here's a Jacobite prince, King James III, and this is a picture of King James III, and it goes back to 1566. You see, the Parliament passed the Bill of Rights around this time. This law made it against the law for any Catholic or descendant of King James to become King of England. King James VI of Scotland was King James III of England. His son was James Francis Edward Stuart. He's a Jacobite prince of King James III. So here you can see the Jacobite prince, and this is his picture in 1566. Clearly, you can see, in a sense, his Negro heritage, and also you can look at his hair. Here you can see, you may ask the question, if tens of thousands of Irish and Scotsmen were Negro or black, especially elites, why aren't they depicted as blacks in their paintings? Here we have a picture, in a sense, of a so-called picture of King James. In the middle, we have one of the authentic pictures of King James. You can clearly see his negroid character. You can look at his hair, you can look at his nose and everything. But then on the picture on the right and the picture on the left, these are other representations, how they wanted, in a sense, to represent King James, just to mask the fact that he was a black king or a Negro. John Mackey is a very important person. You know, John Mackey was a spy of King William III. You know, I already talked about King William III who came from Germany. John Mackey, in his memoirs of the Secret Service of John Mackey in 1773, he tells us about his monitoring of the Jacobites. In the memoir, John Mackay describes the complexion of the Jacobite leaders. In his writings, Mackey makes it clear that Charles Seymour, the Duke of Somerset, Sidney Godolphin, the Lord Treasurer of England, Daniel Finch, Secretary of State, and Earl of Nottingham, John Holmes, the Duke, and that all these people, in a sense, were either a very black complexion or black and ruddy. You can see this in this book. Yes. They describe these people as black. Some of them really, really super black. And yet, in a sense, what they did is that they repainted the pictures and make it appear as though, in a sense, these people were white. The paintings of Baradanacs, or blacks of Britain, were purposely destroyed by Thomas Cromwell, who hated Catholics and blacks generally. Sewell in 2015 wrote an article in a British newspaper, and he noted this: against a backdrop of Henry VII's marital strife, the pathologically ambitious Cromwell single-handedly masterminded the break with Rome in order to hand Henry the church with its all import of divorce. Flushed with the success of engineering Henry I's divorce, Cromwell moved on to confiscating the church's money. He added that with lazy strokes of his pen, he condemned royalty, nobles, peasants, nuns, and monks to horrific summary execution. Yes. They killed off a lot of these black people. Thomas Cromwell had a direct impact on the disappearance of art depicting Baradanacs. And this is also from the Selwyn article, where Selwyn wrote, and then there is the impact on the country's artistic and intellectual heritage. No one can be sure of the exact figure, but it's estimated that there was a destruction started by Cromwell that amounted, and let me tell you this, this was destruction of art. And they say the destruction of art by Cromwell amounted to 97% of the English art then in existence. Think about that. Thomas Cromwell destroyed 97% of the English art. Frescoes were smashed to bits. Mosaics were pulverized. Illuminated manuscripts were shredded. Wooden carvings were burned. Precious metalworks was melted down. Shrines were reduced to rubble. The vandalism went way beyond a religious reform. It was a frenzy, obliterating the artistic patrimony of centuries of indigenous craftsmanship with an intensity of hatred for imagery and depicting the divine that is strong and resonant parallels today. Now you know why we have very few artifacts depicting the Baradanacs. Yes. We have very few artifacts. These blacks, a lot of them were destroyed. But many of the Irish slaves and women were sent to Barbados and the colonies. Yes, FBA history from 1619 to 1865 is a history that not only, in a sense, deals with African people, it also depends on understanding the history of the black aboriginals. Got to know their history too. The first FBA were the black Indians. Here you can see pictures of the Yamasee. Look at this picture on the left-hand side. These are Yamasee Indians. What is distinctive about these Yamasee? Look at them. When you look at these Yamasee Indians, you see some with kufi hats, you see some with red bandanas, and you even see a brother, with a turban or a shape, a turban. This shows, in a sense, the multi-ethnic character. It shows the various cultural influences that existed among foundational Black Americans, even as late as as the war between the Yamasee and the British. But you can see, in a sense, is that, somebody asked me once, he said, how, Dr. Winters, how was there Black Hebrews and Black Muslims in the Americas? And I said, that's because they just sailed in a boat. You have to stop believing that Black people have always been isolated. You have to stop believing that the only Black people that existed in the world were landlubbers. People who were afraid to go out on the sea. Black people have never been afraid to go out on the sea, and that's for over 100,000 years. You had black people sailing from Africa to the Americas and back, you see. This is why we see diverse influences among the various black populations, you see. The first FBA from Africa were not slaves. In 1619, the first blacks directly from Africa came to the English colonies. Africans became chattel slaves not in 1619, but it was after 1655, you see. They say the founder of chattel slavery was Anthony Johnson, who was a former indentured servant from Angola, and he came to Virginia in 1621. And what he did, in a sense, is that he married a black person, but then he also had a chattel slave, and he didn't want to let the chattel slave free. So many people say that Anthony Johnson was the founder of chattel slavery in the United States. What was happening around that time was that it was a lot of plantations, and it wasn't enough labor. And since it wasn't enough labor, they were trying to find a way, to enslave, to make people, chattel slaves. They already had chattel slaves who were Indians who had been captured, to make it in a sense that people could stop being indentured, and they wanted to make the indentured servants chattel slaves, just like the black aboriginals who they had captured in war were made chattel slaves. You see, Anthony Johnson, who was a Negro, he was the first one to do it. You see, and so we had to go through this whole idea. In 1654, Castlewood won his case in the Northampton, Virginia court. But in 1655, the court reversed his decision and ordered Castlewood to remain in servitude to Johnson for life. This was the beginning of African chattel slavery in the United States. This was 6 years after black Irish were made chattel slaves. See, they already had black Irish chattel slaves. They said, okay, since we got black Irish chattel slaves, well, we'll just make Africans chattel slaves too. In 1657, Edward Scarborough, a white neighbor, forged a letter claiming Johnson owed him money. Johnson did not contest Scarborough's claim, and the court gave Scarborough 100 acres of Johnson's land to pay off the alleged debt. Yes. This brother Castlewood, this Uncle Tom, this Uncle Tom, he found, in a sense, that Johnson, this Uncle Tom, he found that he had put this brother made his brother a chattel slave, but we see white folks are still taking his land. But see, this is how, in a sense, the European has always been using the law, in a sense, against us. He used the law to support, this Anthony Johnson, he used the courts to make Anthony Johnson a slave for life, but at the same time, in a sense, they used the courts to take away the brother's land who helped make Anthony Johnson a slave. Yes, you cannot trust the European for anything. The African and Indian slaves did not submit to slavery without a fight. Many blacks ran away from the plantations and formed their own communities. There were not just 3 slave revolts, there were 250 slave revolts. Yes, Herbert Aptheicher, an American Negro slave revolt, said there was 250. See, don't get it twisted. It was more than just 3 rebellions. Enslaved people, they wanted to be free. Because they wanted to be free, they would run away. They would, in a sense, move into the swamps and the badlands, and they would protect themselves to keep Europeans from able to find them. They call those people maroons. John W. Blessingame says maroon was a resourceful black man who, having obtained his freedom, challenged any white man to take it away from him. If his hideout was discovered, he was willing to die defending it. For instance, when a group of North Carolina whites attacked a maroon camp in August 1856, the slaves fought back and killed one of them. Then the Negroes ran off cussing and swearing and telling them to come on. They were ready for them again. You see, don't let it get it twisted. They try to make you believe, in a sense, that black people just took slavery willingly. No, we didn't. We came as prisoners of war, and we remain prisoners of war, and we're still fighting for our own freedom. Allied with the Indians, for example, we know that it was Maroons, it was Maroons who were involved in the Yamasee War. Maroons lived in many Yamasee communities. The Yamasee was a tribe of black Native Americans who originally lived in Florida and southern Georgia. until they were forced to migrate north into South Carolina by the Spanish in the 16th century. The Yamasee were part of the Muskegon Confederacy. This is a confederacy of Mongoloid and black Native Americans. The whites began to steal the Yamasee lands. By 1715, the Yamasee, leading a confederation of other tribes, attacked the whites to drive them off their lands. The Cherokee, who were part of the Muskegon Confederation, broke away and formed an alliance with the British in 1718 and helped defeat the Yamasee. Yes, yes, yes. We always had, in a sense, the Red Indians. Yeah, they would pretend to be our friends and we would help them out. But usually in the end, the Red Indians would always stab us in the back. See, just like they stabbed in the back of the Yamasee. Again, I always love this picture of the Yamasees, because when this picture of the Yamasee, you can see that black people, in a sense, wore kufi hats, they wore red bandanas, they wore turbans, they had shields, they had bows and arrows, and they always had that favorite tomahawk. And that tomahawk was the weapon of choice. It was the most utilitarian weapon that the black Maroons had. And the greatest Maroon center was the Great Dismal Swamp. Between 1700 and 1856, 1700 and 1856, listen to this, thousands of Maroons lived in the Grand Dismal Swamp of Virginia and North Carolina. The first Maroons to settle in the Dismal Swamp lived on the island and marshes called Messick's, a dry and high-powered swamp. The Great Dismal Swamp lasted, as you can see, for over 100 years, and white people did not go in there, and these black people had freedom, you see. The only time that these black people came out of the Dismal Swamp and began to associate with the rest of the Americans was after the Civil War. Now, if you want to find out more about this aspect by history and other aspects of Black history, get my book, Black History Gem Essays, volumes 1 and 2. Order these books. You can order them at Amazon.com. You can also get my books that deal directly with the history of black people. FBA is the history of blacks in America from prehistory to 1877. You can get my book, The Phylogeography of Afro-Americans and Africans. This is a very important book. The Phylogeography of Afro-Americans and Africans break down, the DNA origins of black people. I'm going to tell you something. Let me tell you something, family. The vast majority, the vast majority of black people in North America came from the Senegambian region. I repeat, from the Senegambian region. As a result, when you get DNA results that say that you are related to the Yoruba and the Bantu, those are bullshit DNA results, because the vast majority of us are not related to those people, because most of us came to the United States and came into slavery before, in a sense, the Revolutionary War, before 1800. It was after 1800 that many of the slaves were taken from Nigeria and Ghana. Our ancestors mainly came from the Senegambia. If you want to find out more about this, get my book, The Phylogeography of Afro-Americans and Africans. That's where I talk about the DNA of FBA people. And my book, We're Not Just Africans, the Black Native Americans. It tells you about the history of black people, relations, and the relationship between Africans and history and culture. History and Culture of the Black Aboriginals is the only book. History and Culture of the Black Aboriginals is the only book that you're going to find that discuss our history. Get this book. And you get my book, Common Core State Standards. And in this book, if you want to teach it or if you want your kids to learn to teach it, it shows you various techniques and strategies that you can use to be able to effectively teach someone, various aspects of history, science, or whatever. So this book, Common Core State Standards for Social Science, is a book that will give you constructivist teaching strategies. And also you can get other teaching strategies from my book, Brain-Based Learning and Special Education. This book has a number of strategies that can help you, in a sense, to be able to teach people and not only teach them, but give them the material that can help them to learn and they remember it. Also, don't forget my Common Core social studies website. This website you can find at historyccs.blogspot.com. On this blog page, on this blog, I discuss various strategies, videos, and others that you can use to teach Black history. You can use this stuff. It's time that we do this. Stop waiting for Europeans to teach us our history. You can learn the history. I've given you the resources, you the way, the methods to teach it, and I've given you other ideas that can help you to be able, in a sense, to teach things in an effective and an efficient manner. In summary, the 1619 Project does not reflect the true history of the FBA. It is a series of essays, book, and now a documentary that makes a mockery of FBA history. We have a tripartite origin of Black Native American, Blacks from Africa, and Europe that were made chattel slaves. The 1619 Project is a program that continues the white African origin, and that Africa is the only hope and home we have. No, Africa is not our home for most of us. For most of us, America has always been our home. We're foundational Black Americans, the foundation of this country, and we have an Aboriginal origin. It is false to believe, in a sense, that Africa is our homeland. This is false. We are the Aboriginals of America, the foundation of the American state, since we built it and made it great in culture, science, and history. Our only hope is to be B1, proud of our Black origins. Yes. We must be B1. Thank you. We must be B1. It's only by being one that we will, in a sense, be able to really show our uniqueness, be able to really understand who and what we are. The only thing that can save you is B1, B1, B1. To fight Cage, you must stay Black first. Okay, this is, thank you for showing up and stuff like that. Okay, let's look at some of the comments. Okay, Dorvell notes the fact that Nicole Hannah-Jones is biracial, and biracial lenses tend to be skewed towards whiteness. Of course they are, because see, they're always going to be conflicted, and because they're going to be conflicted, sometimes they may not reflect the true picture. Dorvell also says, Dr. Winters, I like the example given in the Shades of Memnon book. It shows how the mixed blood concubine of Midas chose the whiteness over the blackness. Yeah, that's a good book, The Shades of Memnon. That was done by a friend of mine. I wrote the introduction to the Shades of Memnon, so I'm glad you liked it. Carol wrote, Dr. Winters, according to Dr. David Hotep, first people were Africans. Of course, but the fact is that they may have came from Africa, but let's just face it, that in archaeology, these people were called, in a sense, Paleo-Americans. And because they were called Paleo-Americans, they still represent African people. So there's no conflict. It's just that you have to know who and what they were. Because see, don't forget in the sense that when we look at these Paleo-Americans, look at these Paleo-Americans. When you look at these Paleo-Americans, it's very important that you remember, in a sense, is that they've done reconstructions of the Paleo-Americans. And these are the reconstructions of the Paleo-Americans. And you can see these reconstructions represent, Black people. There's the reconstructions. Here we can see, in a sense, Naia, we can see, in a sense, the first European, and we can see these reconstructions of Lucia. And as you can see from these representations, that these representations make it clear, you see, they make it perfectly clear that the earliest Black people in the Americas were Black. They would have been Africans, of course. They would have been Africans, yes. Okay, Chili Will 2050 says, much love to the Black family. Excellent. Tones Fox said, love. Yes, proud. Black Scraps, the gamer said, tell him, Baba, I'll try. Dorvell says, The poor Healy, half black and half Irish. Glory be to God. The bishop is a Negro, but he was regarded as brilliant, and he parishes in diocese. Yes, but this is just one of them. You know, it was a whole lot of them back in the day, but this would have just been one of the holdovers. Okay, Dorville also said Roman Catholic Irish maids were also widely perceived as aliens in Protestant households, although the swarthy Irish were slowly going white and assimilating into Anglo culture, of course, you know, because one of the biggest things is that back in the day, the stereotypical Caucasian, the Ukrainian women, and the Ukrainian women were also mainly whores because they were in the brothels, but they felt that they were in a sense, examples of the clear white race. Let me see. Carol Abson. Was Pocahontas' father a black Indian, as was recorded? Yeah, he would have been. He was a black Indian. You know, remember, all those Aboriginals were black at that time. At that time, there were the red Indians had not really migrated from Mexico through the Southwest all the way over. Because remember, many people don't understand is that Buffalo, existed all the way from the Southwest all the way to Virginia and North Carolina, and you have to understand that many of the so-called Red Indians, they migrated with the buffalo to the East Coast, and that's when the Red Indians met up with the Black Indians, Aboriginal blacks. Were there any questions? If you got any questions, put them in the chat. Did not blacks come from Africa originally, even those that were here before the Red Indians came mainly from Africa? FBA also descend from Africans, even if they don't come on the slave ships. Of course, they're descended from Africans. That's why, in a sense, you have in a sense the black Aboriginals, who, in a sense, originally came from Africa. Plus, we know that during the Atlantic slave trade, a few Africans came here directly from Africa. So we can't deny that, because we know that through the various words that we have in Ebonics or Black English have African, and they also have Indian origin. It's no big deal, but see, the one thing that people are afraid of is that they don't want to admit that they were black. And see, if you say you were African, that totally identifies you as being black. And many black people do not want to be identified as black. Many black people, in a sense, are ashamed of their heritage. Many black people, sadly, are history. That's why I did this. That's why I did this presentation. I did this presentation so you can get a greater understanding of who and what we are. You see, it's very important in the sense that we always have a reality check. And the reality check relates to the fact, in a sense, is that we are the original people, but our ancestors, they came from, more than one place. You know what I'm saying? And that's very important to do, because the FBA roots, or the roots of black people, the roots of black people are much more diverse than people want to really, really understand. That's what I love about Yoshimon the Genius. Has done so much to talk about our roots. I'm going to play his. If you want to get Yoshimod's videos, what you need to do is you have to go to yoshimod.gumroad.com and check it out.
No need to pretend anymore. The truth is in your face. FBA roots, FBA roots, FBA roots. Oh, no need to pretend anymore. The truth is in your face. woman to man. In Europe's heart, they wanted our land. Dr. Clyde reveals the hidden past, where blackness prides a vivid past. No need to pretend anymore. The truth is in your face. FBA roots, FBA roots, FBA roots. Oh, no need to pretend anymore. The truth. FBA roots, FBA roots, FBA roots. From rooms to moors, the truth is told. Stories of strength, being black is bold. Cultures blended, histories merged. A bond of funk, our souls converge. European tales, they twist it well to hide the truth, but their plans soon fail. See, Dr. Clyde's light shines beyond bright. We the black aboriginals are righteous in this fight. Aboriginals are righteous in this fight. European tales, they twist it well. FBA roots, FBA roots, FBA roots. No need to pretend anymore. The truth is in your face. FBA roots, FBA roots, FBA roots.
Yes, yes, yes. FBA Roots, again, that video. That video is by Yoshimod the Genius. Check the brother out. You know, you can buy his video. He did a very good video also about the Black Britons. And since we have a little time, I think I'll show that one too. It's a very interesting video. And because, again, Yoshimod the Genius, you know, cash out this brother, Damashe, $ Damashe 999. This brother has so much. But let's see this video on the Foundation of Black Britons.
We are the Blacks and Britons, yeah. Now we told us we were strangers in a land we called our own. Caucasians who are Hebrew knew we built this stone by stone from the ancient. Our history runs deeper like the river steady flow. We built this land, yeah, from the ground up to the sky. Our roots run deep, yeah, and our spirits never die. These losers are full of lies, try to steal our pride, but we know the truth. We're the builders of this tide. They say we're new arrivals, just got here yesterday, but our ancestors laid these bricks. Who's the immigrant, you say? From Africa to Albion, we crossed the endless seas, carried our culture and its secret. We taught our cities, yeah, from the ground up to the sky. Our roots run deep, yeah, and our spirits never die. These losers are full of lies, try to steal our pride, but we know the truth. We're the builders of this life. Your pasty ways lead you to make laws to push us out. We are the foundational Black Britons who built this damn house. We are the people who built this goddamn land. This land to erase from the ground. Never die, and our spirits never die. These losers are full of lies, try to steal our pride, but we know the truth. We're the builders of this life. We are the foundational Black Britons. We are the foundational Black Britons. We are the foundational Black Britons. But we know the truth. We're the builders of this time. Now you need to leave. Ooh, 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 ooh.
Again, this video was made by Yoshimod the Genius, and the thing is, this is that, support Yoshimod. Yoshimod, in a sense, he's such a creative guy, and you can get Yoshimod's videos. You can get his videos, in a sense, at yoshimod.com Gumroad. Again, yoshimod.gumroad.com. Go in and purchase his videos and stuff, because the brother is just a genius to me. Let's look at this. We have the time. This is another video by Yoshimod that I think that you'll find quite interesting.
The ancients have chose me. This happens often. The scale is now tipping. We must prepare for them. The world is dangerous. It's all show. Rain falls down. Most people don't know. Tables turn. Ashes, dust to dust. Know how to get you. Wake your whole ass up. We battled before, but still in this war. My patience is over. You protect yours, and I'll protect mine. You protect yours, and I'll protect mine. You and I are on the front line. Don't let them lie to you. We've been here this whole time. I'm telling you. And I've been known as front line. Don't let them lie to you. We've been here this whole time.
Support Yoshimod. Yoshimod's a genius. This brother can do it all. He can make your website fantastic. Support Yoshimod.
So I don't wanna break it all apart. Let me be a nightlight in the dark. Pay my niggas shine bright with the art. Gemini 2-time, it was hard. Got the stars on the line with the charts. Big dog, so I gotta leave a mark. Free your mind, cause I'm all that smart. Hey, energy, got my light walk. Spring water, how did that grow? Free your mind, let it go. To the top, drop it to the floor. Hey, energy, got my light walk. Spring water, how did that go? Free your mind, let it go. Tap in, go, let it nigga know. Hey, let it nigga know.
Supplemental learning for your mini. But you can learn too. Don't send your mini into the belly of the beast unarmed. Courses, practical math, language, the code, our story and more. An institution founded by us, dedicated to us and our fight for justice. Here you will learn ways to combat the system using the same information they are trying to keep away from you. Welcome to FBA Sunday School.
Today is the day. We need to homeschool our children due to white supremacy. In many states, education departments are passing laws to deny our children from learning the history of foundational Black Americans. Today, you can learn how to organize and teach your children in a homeschool. In my book, A Guide to Homeschool, Foundational Black Americans. You can use my book, History of Blacks in America from Prehistory to 1877, to teach our children their history here in the United States. You can use my book to teach world history. And this book I've written is called The World History of the Black World. This will teach your children about every Black civilization in the world. Get this book. The time is now. Get these books to teach your children about their greatness, to prevent them from losing confidence in their own ability to learn and be successful future adults in employment and education.
Thank you guys for showing up, and I hope that you take these suggestions on how you can teach Black studies. Again, I'm going to come out with other stuff, but this video was to show you how you could teach Black history from 1619 up to 1865. I hope you got something out of it. Please use this. Please buy the materials, and remember, if you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. Support the ones who do.
To speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. Vampires, they prey on your future and they stay away. Control your atmosphere. Don't let them take your energy. What I say. Don't let them take control your atmosphere. Distraction away from me. I am you. Control your atmosphere. Don't let them take your energy. Don't let them suck your energy. It's a distraction away from me. I am you and you are me.
The only thing that can save you is B1, B1, B1. To fight Cage, you must stay black first.